Hi, this is Mr. Warden. This is your video key for Algebra Exit Ticket 34.3 for A and B or 35.1 for Block D. So let's go ahead and work this out. Let's factor x squared minus 144. Well, those are both squares. There's no middle term, so the middle term has a 0x. So what we're looking for is two factors of negative 144 that add up to 0, and those would be 12 and negative 12. But of course, this is the difference of squares structure, which is, of course, when you have a squared minus b squared, that can be factored. Need that parentheses. That can be factored into simply a plus b times a minus b. So we get the square root of both terms. So the square root of x squared is x, and the square root of 144 is 12. So we're going to say x plus 12 times x minus 12. And that is the difference of squares factoring. Okay, the roots or solutions or zeros or x-intercepts are going to be negative 12 and 12. Now, we're going to calculate b squared minus 4ac for this function. So we need a, b, and c. So a is going to equal 1 because that's a 1 in front of x squared. B is going to equal 2, and c is going to equal 1. So b squared, I'm going to just go ahead and put it in here, b squared minus 4ac. All right, so b is 2. A is 1, and C is 1. So that just becomes a 4, and that's a 4. And so B squared minus 4AC is 0. Okay, so we're going to be getting the square root of 0. So the next one, I'm asking you to take that same equation and plug it into the quadratic formula and solve it. Okay, so you can do it right here. You can go into Desmos and do your work and then just copy the link into here if you like, but I'll do it right. Actually, I'll do it in Desmos. So let me copy the equation so we know what we're dealing with. We know what A, B, and C are. There's my equation. You can see it graphed there. Interesting, it only has one x-intercept. Okay, so we've got x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, and I only do the plus version. I can do the minus version. But we worked out already that b squared minus 4ac was 0. And we know a is 1. And we know b is 2. Okay, in case you're watching this on a phone, I'll make this bigger. Okay, so we've got this structure. So let's start simplifying it. So that becomes just a 2. And the square root of 0 is 0. There's no plus or minus version of it. Doesn't matter if we do a plus or minus version. I'll just confirm that for you. You can tell that is the same thing. So negative 2 minus 0 is negative 2. Negative 2 plus 0 is negative 2. And negative 2 over 2 is negative 1. And so the solution for this is negative 1 and negative 1. And in fact, we would factor this as x plus 1 times x plus 1. And those x-intercepts are negative 1 and negative 1. We're using the same x-intercept twice. So you could say there's one solution, or you could say there's one solution with a multiplicity of 2 because it's used twice. And that is the solution for that. So the solution is x equals 1. Okay. Oh, you know what? Let's see here. Yes, that was what we needed to do for that question. Now, the last question we have here for content is what would be a simplified version of the square root of 125? I'll make that bigger so we can see it clearly. So we're going to get the square root of 125. Well, that's the square root of 25 of the product of 25 and 5. Okay, if you had broken it out into 5 times 5 times 5, that would work too. But a square root of a product is the same as the product of square roots. We can split that up. Now 5 has to stay in square root jail, but the square root of 25 can be broken down into a square root of 5. I mean, into plus or minus 5. So we're going to end up with the square root of 25, which is plus or minus 5, and the square root of 5, which has to stay in square root jail. So it's plus or minus 5 root 5. And that is a good place to